Alright, so for this first lesson in Chapter 8, we're going to be talking about graphing systems of linear inequalities. Last chapter, we learned how to graph inequalities. A system is just two inequalities together in one instead of just one, okay? So it's nothing different, it's just two problems together, okay? So our steps. Step 1, get them in slope-intercept form. If they aren't already, right? If they're ready, you can just start graphing it. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. If it's like that, you can start graphing. If not, solve it first for y. Then you're going to graph each individual inequality. Remember, because there's going to be two. Remember to shade. Shade below if it's y is less than or equal to. Shade above if it's y is greater than or greater than equal to. And now the overlapping portion, so the part where they're both colored in together, is where your answer, because we want that answer where it's the same answer for both at the same time. Okay? So let's take a look at some examples how we do that. Alright, so example 1, we have these two inequalities. Y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 3. Y is greater than or equal to negative 1/3 x minus 2. Both of these are in slope-intercept form, so we can just start graphing it. So just do one at a time. We'll start here. Start with your y-intercept always, positive 3. And then remember the slope tells you where to go next. So in this case, remember the slope is rise over run. And if it's not a fraction, you make it a fraction by putting it over 1. So this negative 2 means negative 2 over 1. So that means 2 down, 1 to the right. So come to your intercept, 2 down, 1 to the right. And then you just get your ruler. Make a straight line through there. Alright. Oh, and I actually kind of rushed a little bit there. Look at the symbol. Remember, it's got to be solid line or dotted line. Because it's y is less than or equal to, it will be a solid line. And then we'll go through and put our arrows on here. Alright. Now, here's where I have to do my shading. Okay? So remember, it said y is less than. Remember, here, because we're talking about the y, we are either going to color above the line we graphed or under the line. Less than is under. Now, rather than just kind of scribbling in, and you'll see why in a minute, when you shade these systems, because we want to be able to see where they're together, I'm going to shade it like in one direction, okay? And then when I do the other one, we'll shade it in another direction, and we can kind of see where it's crossing over, okay? Alright, so let's try another one here. The second one, because we're not done, right? Now it says y is greater than or equal to negative 1/3 x minus 2. So we start with the y-intercept, which is at negative 2. And then our slope is negative 1/3. Remember, when this fraction is negative, it means only one number is negative. Most people put it on the top, so we'll put it on the top number. So the negative 1 means 1 down, positive 3 means 3 to the right. So start here now, 1 down, 3 right, and it just so happens that it's on that same line. Get our ruler, greater than or equal to, so that means once again, solid line because it's equal. Put our arrows on the line. Now, here's where it gets a little tough. So I need to kind of like forget all this first line that we did. And now I'm going to try to shade the second line. Okay, so I have to pretend like all that stuff's not there. Because it says y is greater than the second line, I'm going to color everything on top of the second line. I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to color everything on the top because it's greater than. And I'm going to go in a different direction now. This is going to help me see where everything is crossing over. Okay? So it's a little messy, but as you can see now, the place where both answers are crossing over is this part. Here, this is just the first one. Here, this is just the second one. Here is where it is together, where I have both lines. And so any point in here is an answer for both of them at the same time. That's how you graph a system. Okay? Alright, let's try another one. Number 2, we're going to graph these. You can see by both of these that they are both already in slope-intercept, so I can just start graphing them. So first one, y-intercept is negative 3. Just like last chapter, Slope is positive 2 over positive 3, so that means up 2, right 3. Up 2, right 3. Notice the sign, greater than but not equal to, so that will be a dotted line. Okay, so make a straight dotted line here. And now we need to shade. Greater than would be on top of this. Okay, so it doesn't matter what direction you shade, but we just want to do it two different ways so we can see later where the two inequalities are crossing over. Alright, so that was the first one. Now we'll go to the second one. Y is greater than or equal to negative 1. Remember, this is a weird one because there's only one letter. Usually lines have Y and X. When you only see one letter, remember, you use the Hoivuk shortcut. This is a Hoi line with the Y. That means H is horizontal. So I'm going to go to a negative 1 on the Y, and I'm going to make a horizontal line. Once again, look at the line first. Greater than, not equal to. So once again, that will be a dotted line. Now I've got to shade this one. Y is greater than, so I have to pretend all this other stuff's not here. And I'm going to shade above this, Y is greater than negative 1. So I'll kind of go this way. Notice I'm getting all the way to that line, everything over it, even this part. Now as you can see, I'm looking where are both answers together, where are both kinds of lines together. So the answer would be all this. Not here, that's just one. Even this little part would not be an answer, and definitely nothing's covered here. Alright, so that's how we're doing systems. It's just where they're both having the same answers. Alright, let's look at number 3 over here now. Now as you can see by both of these inequalities, neither of these are y equals mx plus b, so I'm going to have to solve these first. Alright, so let me try to do these in different colors. So first inequality is 2x minus y greater than or equal to negative 2. So remember, we're solving for y because we wanted to say y equals. So our first step would be to subtract the 2x from both sides. Those are gone. Be very careful that it's not just y, but negative y is left. Bring down the sign. And remember, I have these two terms. Can't put them together, but I'm going to put the x term first. Negative 2x. The negative 2 is the minus 2 after. Now, negative y means negative 1y. If you want to put the 1 there, you can. And hopefully that'll help you see. That's negative 1 times y. The opposite is divide by negative 1. And I have to divide every number. Those cancel out. Y is by itself. Remember, like last chapter, because I divided by a negative, I have to flip the sign. And now I'm going to simplify. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is positive 2x. Negative 2 divided by negative 1, positive 2. So, I'm not going to look at this anymore. I'm going to graph this inequality. This is what it turned into. So I'm going to go to intercept. Y-intercept is positive 2. The slope is 2, which means 2 over 1. So that's up 2, right 1, because it's both positive. Okay, now let's look at the sign. That's less than or equal to. Because it's or equal to, we're going to use a solid line. And then I'll go and put my arrows on it. And now I'm going to have to shade it. Because it was y is less than this line, I'm going to shade under it the whole way. Get the whole graph under it, anything under that line. Alright, and then now we need to solve this. So let me rewrite this one. X plus 2y less than or equal to negative 6. Solving for y, move this x. Opposite of x is minus x or negative x, however you want to say it. Those are gone. We're left with 2y. Less than or equal to comes down. Let's just put the x first. So it's negative x minus 6. Alright, and then we're going to divide everything by 2. Y is by itself. Bring the sign down. Now, this might look a little weird to you. Remember, negative x I can say is negative 1x. Now I can see the actual fraction. So this is a negative 1/2 x. And then negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So don't look here. This is not what we're graphing. Alright, so Here my y-intercept is -3. Here my slope is -1/2, so one of the numbers that's negative will make the 1 negative. So that means down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. And then check the sign. The sign is less than or equal to. So once again, because it's equal to, I'm going to use a solid line. Put the arrows on the line, because that means the line's going on forever. Now it's time to shade. Less than, so we're going to color under. Notice they're both less than. That's fine. It just means we're going to color under both of them. So I'm going to focus just on this line and color everything under it. Everything under it. So now I can see the final answer is this section. This is the only place where both of the answers touch. I see one line here, one other line here, no lines here. So we want words together. Alright, and that's how you graph the system of inequalities. Just like last chapter, but you have 2 instead of 1. Okay? Alright, now let's look at number 4. Alright, so this question is asking, is 0, 1, is this point a solution to the system of inequalities? So what it's asking is this point a solution to this? So we'll talk about 2 ways to do this. We can solve this by graphing or plugging in. Okay, I want you to get comfortable with both ways. On the quiz or test or SOL, you can do whichever way you want. Okay? But let's start with the plugging in first. Remember, anytime we're checking an answer, we can just plug it in. So here's the thing. We're checking this answer, 0, 1. And remember, every point is written as xy. So that means this is the x value, this is the y value. That's what I'm going to plug in. Alright, so if I plug that into one of them at a time, the y is 1. That's it. Less than or equal to. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to plug it in with a parentheses. So remember, this goes way back to chapter 1. 5 halves times x, or 5 halves times parentheses 0 for x minus 2. Now we can just use our calculator to help us out. So I'm going to type in just the right side. Get my fraction, 5 over 2, come out of the fraction, parentheses 0, minus 2. And you can see that the right side of that inequality is -2. So instead of having to write all of that, I can just write -2. Alright. Now remember, on the inequalities, you can't just look at the number, you have to read it. So now that I've solved it, this says 1 is less than or equal to -2. Is 1 less than -2 or equal to it? No, it's false. So because this one's wrong, I don't have to check this one. They're either both right or it's all wrong. So the answer for this would be no. 0, 1 is not a point. Okay? Just plugging it in. Reading it, if it's true, if they're both true, it's good. If it's not an answer. Okay? Just to quickly show you how to do it with graphing. Okay? I'm running out of time on this video, so what I want you to do is pause it, practice graphing these, and then unpause the video, and I'll show you quickly and easily how to show on the graph if it's an answer or not. Okay? So try to graph these two, unpause it, and see if you got the same thing here, and we'll finish it. Alright, so after you've graphed these two inequalities, it should look something like this. So the solution is just this small little area up top. This is the only place where both answers are together. So I'm checking the point 0, 1. So if I graph the point 0, 1, remember the first number is the x, second number is the y. I start on the origin. 0 means I don't move on the x. I stay here. 1 on the y means it goes up here. So I'm checking. What I'm asking now is this point the answer? Well, it's got to be in here to be the answer. So as you can see, this point is not in the answer area. So 2 ways to prove that no, this is not an answer. Okay? So now you're ready to do some practice on your own with system of inequalities.